Rent increases, something to think about. Part 3.
Hello, my name's Jodena Rogers with Emerald Management Realty Ltd. Thank you for joining me today to discuss strategies to effectively justify rent increases to tenants. This is part 3 in my series of rent increase. Follow the law. An increase in Alberta may only be done once every 365 days. Think of it like a pay increase. Housing is a long-term commodity, and residents have come to expect annual rent adjustments. Strategy for delivery of increases. Allow a long lead time. Most people spend what they make. Allow tenants time to think and budget for the increase. Some may think that if you give an increase with a short lead time, it gives the tenant less option to move, but more often than not, people with time have time to adjust. Use odd rent amounts. Adjust for desirability. Adjust rent levels accordingly to popularity and desirability of the unit type and location. You will be able to know what is hot in your rental market and increase based on the increase of demand. Test the increases on vacancies first. Test your vacant units with the increased rent amounts. The person moving in is much more exposed to cost moving versus those that are currently living in the unit and deciding to move. If you are able to try the new price on multiple units to ensure it is not an anomaly, that's a great approach too. People and current tenants will be watching rental rates and will be watching move-ins. If people are moving in at the elevated rents, current tenants will see that the building has good value at the current market prices. If your tenant does decide to move upon receiving a rent increase, make sure your advertising and your market rent is at a higher amount so that they don't see a decreased amount. Fix up before the rent increase. Upgrades can happen before or after an increase, but doing an upgrade to the common areas prior to the increase can help with justifying the improvement and the increase to the tenant. Charge for apartment improvements. Make sure the tenant's unit is in comparable order and be prepared to consider improvements upon the tenant's requests that are made. Repairs and upgrades can be a very positive approach to the rental increase. Timing. This is truly a tricky part of rent increases. Ideally, increases are made on the annual term or the 365 term period. Oftentimes, landlords avoid winter months to eliminate move-outs, but more times than not, tenants actually won't move through the winter months, and in fact, they may have time to adjust to the increase in the event they decide to stay. Use a sales step-down strategy. So, sales strategy of a rent increase. This is where you need to take a look at all of your marketing tools that you've been taught. Use a sales step-down strategy. Explain to tenants that the market rent has gone up maybe $150 on similar units. However, if they sign a new one-year lease term, their increase will only go up to $100 per month. This is a great deal for them. Build an increase amount in after an initial term. If the tenant decides to remain on a month-to-month agreement after their initial term is up, you would automatically increase their rent $70 per month. However, if they sign a new agreement with a longer term, the increase will only increase to $50 per month. Another great deal. Building the increases into the lease agreement so that the lease automatically increases every year. There are many tenants out there that are planners and also want to commit for more than a one-year term. This is a great strategy for an annual term lease and tenants who want to commit to extended terms. You also don't have to negotiate at all. You could email the increase in advance and have them send the signed agreement back within a few days. If they don't respond or reach out, you can try again with a new strategy. However, some of the tenants might just respond by signing the agreement and they can send it back to you. You can also tie the increase to a term. So if you are going to sign a 6-month agreement, your rental rate will be at a higher amount, such as $100. However, if you sign a 1-year agreement, your rent will only be at an elevated rate of $80 per month. Property improvements always justify an increase. So my next option, payment options. Not always suggested for some landlords. However, there are some tenants out there that struggle to pay rent on time. If you would like to accommodate a tenant such as that, you can increase the rent for different payment options and/or on a different payment structure. If your current tenant is a really good tenant, they make great payments, they take care of the property, you may also want to look at locking in the rates. Some tenants are just worth keeping. Now I would like to play an audio clip for you.
Hi Kayla, this is Curtis with Emerald Management phoning.
Hi, Curtis.
Hi, just phoning about your renewal. It's coming up in 90 days. Just wanted to talk with you about it. You did receive your rental increase letter. Did you have any questions or concerns?
I did receive it, and I'm quite concerned. As you know, I'm a single mom in university. I'm working part-time. I'm on income support. I'm currently paying $1,000, and that's really high as it is. And to get this letter saying I'm going to pay $1,150, that's just way too much. I'm going to need upgrades or something if that's going to be the payment I'm making monthly.
So I did take a look into your renewal, and I do understand that the rental market has changed significantly from your previous renewal last year. So I do understand that you do have some concerns, but we can take a look at upgrades. What would you be looking for?
Well, I was thinking appliances or something worth my time, to be honest.
Well, if we did do appliances, we would be looking for the full increase at $1,150 for doing appliances. But I do still want to try and keep you because you have been a good tenant this past 2 years. So we could take a look at some small upgrades, maybe faucets or light fixtures. If you'd be interested, maybe at a reduced increase to $1,100.
You know, I think that's something I'd be willing to work with you on, whether it's the small upgrades or the lesser increase. I think definitely over the next couple of days, this is something we can discuss further.
Perfect. That sounds great. I'll talk to you soon, and I'll just come up with a couple different options for you.
That sounds great. Thanks, Curtis.
Bye.
It might sound similar to many of the conversations that you have. What I have learned is during the rental increase process, oftentimes requires negotiation and communication. So the process, how do you serve a rent increase? About 120 days from the term of the agreement, take a look at the rents and be prepared to deliver the document, whether that be a new lease agreement, a rent increase letter, or a lease renewal agreement. In preparation of the annual budget, an across-the-board percentage increase can be done. However, what you do need to keep in mind is the variance and demand with each individual unit and the comparables that may impact the final numbers. If you are a property manager or working for an owner, find out what the owner's expectations are. If need be, look at the budget. Are the rising expenses incorporated? Oftentimes, you can't increase to the rising expenses, but an increase will assist in covering costs and maintaining profitability. One of the issues that we are facing is that the market rent isn't keeping up with the costs to run the buildings. Insurance has been a huge issue for many landlords this year, as well as property taxes. The other problem that we're running into is there are many tenants that haven't had an increase for many years. They seem to be somewhat shocked that they're getting an increase and struggling to keep up with the amounts. Prior to the 90-day term of a 1-year agreement, look at all the units that are eligible for an increase in your building and if they are outside of the term. Now you have to do your analysis. Be fair and communicate. Know your product and be able to justify the amounts. How do we compete with new product in our market? Believe it or not, an influx in product might be actually a great thing for our rental market. Look at the businesses that are entering, the income class, the demand of renters, and what are they looking for? If there is new product, you may be able to use a drafting strategy for an increase in your rents. Who's competing with new construction, new buildings with fancy amenities, different fitness centers? How do you do it? There are always going to be fears when giving a rent increase. It can be a confrontational situation that can cause a fear of vacancy and rocking a boat. Are your rents going to be above market rent? Maybe the tenants can't afford the increase, or worse, you don't want to wreck your relationship with the tenants and the progress you have. Creating a strategy to implement an increase that is in line with the market and bearable by the tenant is what makes this process successful. A good product with a good price, there are always going to be varying levels of income and renters for the rates. Thank you again for joining me today. My name's Jodena with Emerald Management Realty Ltd, and I appreciate your time.